Hi, welcome to this Mark Reviews and Tutorials video. What we're going to do today is put a front mud flap onto this BMW, an F25. Now for putting a mud flap onto any vehicle, you've got to work out where your attaching points are. And these here are bought offline. They're not the genuine BMWs, but I've had multiple sets of these and they've been really good. You've got to make sure that your points are actually going to line up, because you can get some variations sometimes. Now on these holes line up with the first two pins down there perfectly, and over there that little bit of plastic doesn't extend up to where that bolt is. So what we're actually going to do, we're going to mark where that bolt is, put a hole through, and then put a speed nut, which is a little square. I'll show you one of those in just a sec. We're going to put a speed nut onto there so that we can screw in and get into this fibrous guard inner liner to hold it there. And then there's a plastic clip which does clip out from the bottom, and we've got to again put a speed nut down there. Same, these plastic clips are one way, so we're going to be using, I need to show you one, hang on. So here you go. This here, see this little packet's had 3 speed nuts in it. They are these square things here like this, and they can slide onto a surface, like onto this black plastic here or onto this material, and they will give you something that a screw will screw into. See, they've got a hole on this side, and the bent over bit at the back has got a little slot in it, so a screw will screw up into it so that your screw will come up nice and tight and hold in place. So that's a speed nut, and they should come with the kit. I will link in the description for some kits for an F25 and some others you can look up as well. 1 series, 3 series, 5 series, they make these molded mud flaps for all the cars. I've done the one on the back here, and particularly on the F25, I think these look absolutely fantastic. We're just upgrading this car. We've put the bigger asymmetric wheels and tires on, and the mud flap out the side just really gives these some presence and just a bit of position. I really enjoy the mud flaps on these, let alone what it saves in washing the car. Because, like, as you can see, I've only just put this on. All of this spray that normally comes through won't be there, because it's got a bit of width to it, so that this will stay clean. And yeah, makes your car a whole lot more joy, particularly the front one, because you're not throwing dirt and water all the way up down the side of a car. So we'll get into it. Step 1, we've just got to knock the center out of these rivets. I've got myself a hammer and a thin little screwdriver. And these rivets, these one-way rivets, you see they've got a little plastic center in them. So we're going to knock that in, and then these pull out. You can see that one's gone loose. So we're just going to knock the center in on that, and then ply those 2 rivets out. So once the center's knocked out, see that now, you can just get under it with a screwdriver. See that? That'll come straight out, the whole assembly. While that center pin there is pressed in, and up on its little clips, you see all of that is holding it in place, and there's no way that's going to come out. But these are a snap-off clip. When they put them on, they pull them through and then cut them off, and that pulling them through action pulls that up. So they're a one use, unless you've got more center pins, they're a one use unit, so they're going to end up in the bin. Same with this here, but we're going to replace them with screws and speed nuts. So there it is, they're out. But trust me, if you don't knock the center out first, they are really difficult to get out. So there we go, those 2 are done. We're going to find the hole and prepare it down here, pull off the plastic clip down below. The one down below is actually missing, that's there. But what you'll have there is another plastic clip with a center pin. You put a screwdriver under the middle pin and you lever it down, you pull it down, and then you pull the whole fitting out, and it'll come out of that hole there. Okay, so then you look at your mud flap. These are the 2 pins we've just pulled out. This is the one we're going to cut in the felt material, and this is the one where that lower pin came out. So we need to put in the speed nuts now, so this will attach. So we put them in 1, 2, and 3. We can work on right from the start. So the speed nuts, you will notice, now you can pull this guard off here, and as a matter of fact, that one's not sitting quite correctly. This guard needs some work on it, and get in. But what's a really good tight fit on the F25 is actually, we can cut a little bit out of this section here. This is just the plastic trim liner. Cut a little bit of section out and put the speed nut on like that. When I did the rears, this was not so well attached, and we were able to actually put the speed nut onto the metal, which was a stronger fix. But I did the other side and connected onto the plastic, and it's strong as. It's really clipped on there well. So I've just got the pliers. I've got pliers just sitting in there, just holding this out off the edge so that we can cut a little chunk out. And you see, now that that's cut out, and again, this doesn't have to be pretty, because when the mud flap goes on, it's all covered. So once that little chunk is out, now that speed nut, you see, will go in. It goes in that way. It'll slide in, but now it'll go far enough that the hole is going to line up with the hole where it needs to be here. So you do that again, and then we hold the mud flap in place and work out exactly where that hole is, and then prepare that. So I'll get all 3 speed nuts on, and then we'll show you where we're up to. Some extra bits, to make this safe, the car's jacked up, taken the wheel off, obviously. I've got a video, have a look up here about what you actually need, because these cars don't come with a jack and a spare wheel and so forth. So what you actually need in order to be able to get a wheel off. And down here, I've got a safety stand sitting under that suspension frame there, so that there's no way the car can drop on me or drop down while I'm here working on it. And things like a light to give you enough light so you can work in here, so you can see what you're doing, just make the job a whole lot more pleasant as well. That's not just for filming, that's there so you can see what you're doing. Okay, so 2 speed nuts are on. You see, because I've cut that little shoulder out, it means they can come in far enough to line up. And now we hold the mud flap in place. And again, mud flap's all about positioning, so make sure there's no gap down around the back here or anything like that. And we can see that they both line up nicely like that, which is what we want. So once we've got it all lined up, we can then mark this lower hole. So I'll do that and I'll show you how to cut it just into this felt here, cut the speed nut. Okay, so you can see just there where the hole is. So then what you do is you get your speed nut, you line it up with the hole and work out where the back of it is going to need to be here. Then you cut a little letterbox slot there so that you can slip that speed nut on. I have pulled the wheel off a BMW and actually found that glued on. Someone just glued it straight onto there. But for me, it's much better if you actually screw on and attach to this. It'll give it a better attachment point. Okay, so there you go. See, that's sitting in place. Just cut that little mailbox slot in the top, and then that slides down. You see it's over the hole. Just knock it a little bit sideways to center it, and then the screw will go in there and hold well. So I will I'll hold the mud flap up in place and then screw these 3 on. Okay, so these are the screws that came with the hardware pack that came with the mud flaps. So what we need to do is just line this up. There it is, right there. So put that in, give it a start. And most important, when you screw these in, don't screw them in all the way. Just screw it up so it holds. Now, when a screw does that, it's starting, obviously we're not lined up with the hole yet. So what we can do, we'll pull that back out and then get your little screwdriver and line everything up so that the hole in the mud flap, the hole in the plastic guard, and the hole in the metal behind it all line up. So there you go. We're screwed in, and as I said, that is just as firm as, it's not going anywhere. The back one, I did put the speed clips onto the metal. This one though, I'm seriously shaking that, and that's absolutely come up firm as. So we've got 4 attachment points, 1, 2, 3, and then the one underneath. Now the one underneath, I was using the little screws like this that came for all of these attaching points inside. The one underneath, I went for something a little bit bigger. It's a little bit chunkier and a bit thicker, just because the hole was a little bit bigger. Okay, so there we go. The Auction X3, this wheel project is done. All the restoration on the wheels is done. All the mud flaps are on. Really happy with it. It makes such a huge difference. I'm not going to pick it up in the film, but having those wide tires, the big mud flaps, just how it sets off the rear guard, absolutely stoked with how this has come up. Really happy with how the wheel repairs have come up. So yeah, doing good.